Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. In our last session, we talked about the acquired immunity, the components of acquired immunity that are the B and T lymphocytes. We learned about the pre-processing of T and B lymphocytes and the development of diversity and reactivity by the B and the T lymphocytes. And we also talked about the antigen presentation to the T and B lymphocytes. In today's session, we are going to talk about the humoral immunity. From our previous discussions, we know that the acquired immunity is of two types, the humoral immunity and the cell mediated immunity. So, the objective of today's session is to talk in detail about the humoral immunity. Humoral immunity refers to the antibody production and its accessory processes in response to antigen exposure, and the humoral immunity is mediated by the B lymphocytes. First, we're going to see how the B lymphocytes are activated. Most of the process of activation of B lymphocytes we have already discussed in the previous sessions, but here again we are going to revise it and we are going to add the further details to the activation of B lymphocytes. Whenever there is an exposure to the antigen, it causes activation of both the B lymphocytes and the T lymphocytes. And we know from our previous discussions that B lymphocytes can recognize free existing antigen or an intact antigen, such as a bacterial toxin. And when they come across an antigen, they are activated. But in case of T lymphocytes, the activation requires antigen presentation to the T lymphocytes by antigen presenting cells. Now, when antigen presenting cells cause activation of the T lymphocytes, some of the activated T lymphocytes are helper T cells and the others are cytotoxic T cells. Now, activated helper T cells, they secrete lymphokines. Now, lymphokines perform a number of different functions. One of the functions of the lymphokines is to activate the B lymphocytes, or we can say further enhance the activation of the B lymphocytes. Now, without the helper T cells, the activation of the B lymphocyte is not as much, and the quantities of the antibodies which are formed by the B lymphocytes is very slight. So, helper T cell activation, it performs a very important function, adding on to the activation of the B lymphocyte or causing further enhancement of the B lymphocyte activation. Now, this is a B lymphocyte. It can recognize a foreign invader, an antigen. Now, this antigen is it binds with the antibodies present on the surface of this B lymphocytes. These antibodies are the cell surface receptors present in the B lymphocytes. Now, this antigen it is processed by this B lymphocyte and it is also presented to the T cell. Now, especially the helper T cells. Now, helper T cell will will be activated when antigen is presented to it. Now, helper T cell, when it is activated, it is going to secrete the cytokines or the lymphokines, and this lymphokine is going to cause further activation of the B lymphocytes. So, B lymphocytes are activated and they are going to secrete a tremendous number of antibodies. Again, this is a B lymphocyte or a B cell. These are the antibodies which are cell surface receptors present in the plasma membrane of the B cells. Now, these antibodies can bind with the antigen. So, binding of this antigen with the antibodies causes activation. This antigen is internalized by the B cell. It is processed and then it is It is bound to the MHC class 2 proteins, and in association with MHC class 2 proteins, it is presented to the helper T cells. Now, these helper T cells are activated and they are going to secrete the cytokines or the lymphokines, and lymphokines are going to further cause activation of the B lymphocytes. Now, the helper T cells are not only activated by the B cells, they can also be activated by other antigen presenting cells, as is shown in this diagram. Here is the macrophage, and again, it is an antigen presenting cell. It will engulf the antigen, process the antigen, and a part of the antigen will be associated with the major histocompatibility proteins. Class 2 proteins present the antigens to the helper T cells. Now, helper T cell will be activated. It will secrete cytokines, and cytokines will cause further activation of the B lymphocyte. And here we can say that the B lymphocytes can also recognize the intact antigens and can also bind with this antigen and internalize it. And after internalization, they process the antigen and present it to the helper T cells in association with class 2 proteins. So, helper T cells on activation are going to produce cytokines, and these cytokines are going to cause enhancement of the B cell activation. They will be changed into the plasma cells and are going to secrete the antibodies, and some of the activated B cells will form the memory cells. Now, we are going to see the differentiation of the B lymphocytes into the plasma cells. So, when B cells are activated by antigens, they are changed into the plasma cells. In the first stage, the B lymphocytes become enlarged and they develop rough endoplasmic reticulum in order to synthesize the proteins that are the antibodies. Now, this enlarged B lymphocyte in the first stage is called as lymphoblast. Lymphoblast will further differentiate into the plasmablast. The plasmablasts divide at a rate of about once every 10th hour, and in about 4 days, 9 divisions of the plasmablast will form about 500 cells from a single originally activated cell. Now, mature plasma cells which are formed, they will produce antibodies at an extremely rapid rate. The antibodies are secreted into the lymph and are also carried to the circulating blood. The plasma cells continue to produce antibodies until these are exhausted. Formation of memory B cells. We already talked about the formation of memory cells in our previous discussion. Here we are going to revise it. Now, when there is activation of B lymphocytes, a few lymphoblasts after activation do not form the plasma cells. Instead, they form new lymphocytes similar to the original colon. Now, this formation of the new lymphocytes similar to the original colon enhances the population of the lymphocytes of the activated colon. These cells are called as memory cells. And here, in case of B lymphocytes, memory B lymphocytes. Now, these memory cells are also circulated throughout the body to be lodged in the other lymphoid tissues. The memory T cells are also formed in the same way as the memory B cells are formed when in case of the cell mediated immunity. Now, this diagram we have already discussed in relation to the activation of a colon of B lymphocyte. So, we are again going to reinforce it that this is a specific B lymphocyte which is activated by exposure to its specific antigen. This, upon activation, is going to form the plasma cells which will produce antibodies, and few activated lymphocytes will form a few activated lymphocytes will form the memory cells, and they are not going to produce the antibodies. Instead, they are going to be added up to the activated colon. And the significance of formation of the memory cells is that when there is subsequent exposure to the same antigen, there is more rapid and a potent response because of these memory cells. This also explains the basis of immunization being done in multiple doses. Now, this diagram shows us the primary and the secondary response. When the first time there is exposure to an antigen, the response it requires sometimes weeks to appear, and this is the response, primary response, that is on first time exposure to an antigen. And we can see the titer of antibody or the concentration of antibody is not very large, and it appears after some time, so it is not very potent response. But during the primary response, there is formation of memory cells, and if the body is exposed to the same antigen again, due to formation of memory cells, there will be a rapid and a very potent response. Now, this response is called as secondary response, which is shown when there is a re-exposure to the same antigen. Now, we are going to talk about the antibodies in detail. Now, antibodies are gamma globulins. They form about 20% of the total plasma proteins. All the plasma proteins are formed by the liver except these gamma globulins, or which are the antibodies. These gamma globulins are formed from they are secreted by the plasma cells. Now, antibodies are composed of light and heavy chains, and number of light and heavy chains in each type of antibody may vary. Most of the antibodies are composed of two heavy and two light chains, but there can be as many as 10 heavy and 10 light chains in the antibodies. An example of this type of antibodies are IgM antibodies, which are composed of 10 heavy and 10 light chains. Now, each light and the heavy chain, it has a variable portion and a constant portion. The variable portion of the antibody, it binds with the antigen. This is because it has a unique structural organization of amino acid in it, which can bind with the specific antigen. The antigens and the antibodies are held together by hydrophobic bonding, hydrogen bonding, or ionic interactions, and the van der Waals forces. Now, what about the constant portion of the antibodies? The variable portion is the function of the variable portion is to bind with the antigen, while the constant portion of the antibodies, it determines the biological properties of the antibodies, such as the diffusibility of the antibodies, attachment of the antibodies to the different structures in the tissues, attachment of the antibodies to the complement system, and the ease with which the antibodies can pass through the membranes. Again, I'm repeating that the variable portion of the antibody binds with the antigen, while the constant portion of the antibody determines the biological properties of the antibodies, such as diffusibility of the antibodies through the tissues, attachment or adhesion to the tissue structures, attachment to the complement proteins, and the ease with which the antibodies can pass through the membranes. This is the diagram showing us the structure of antibody In this, we can see that this is a bivalent antibody composed of two heavy and two light chain. This is the heavy chain. Again, this is the heavy chain of the antibody, and these are the light chains. Now we can see in this diagram that each light and the heavy chain are present parallel to each other, and these are connected with each other through disulfide linkages. Now this is the variable portion of the heavy and light chain. Again, this is the variable portion of the heavy and the light chain. So each antibody has two variable sites, and it can bind with two antigens, so that's why it is called as bivalent. So these are the variable portions, and these are the constant portions of the light and the constant portion of the heavy chains. So variable portions of the each light and the heavy chain are going to bind with the antigen, and the constant portion are going to determine the biological activity of the different types of antibodies. The variable portion is also known as FAB. It is the antigen binding site, and the constant portion is called as FC region, which means constant portion. Again, the structure of the antibody, showing the variable portion of the antibody is bound with its specific antigen. Now, this diagram shows us the specificity of the antibodies. That antibodies are highly specific means they will bind only with their specific antigens. So there are a number of antigens, different types of antigens, and only that antigen which is specific, or we can say the antibody which is specific for this antigen is going to bind with it. So there it has a complementary structure. The antigen will fit into the variable portion of the antibody or the binding portion of the antibody. Now we are going to talk about the classes of the antibodies. There are five general classes of the antibodies. These include IgM, IgG, IgA, IgE, and IgD antibodies. So there are five types or five classes of antibodies. Again, we are repeating it: IgM, IgG, IgA, IgE, and IgD antibody. The most numerous antibodies are IgG. So 75% of the antibodies in the plasma are of IgG type, and these antibodies are bivalent in nature, composed of two heavy and two light chains. IgM are the largest antibodies and are composed of 10 pairs of heavy and 10 pairs of heavy and light chains, and they have 10 binding sites for the antigens. IgE antibodies are important in allergic reactions. They are present on the surface of mast cells and the basophils. These antibodies, when bind with antigen, they cause degranulation of the mast cells, and the degranulation causes the release of chemicals which produce different reactions. IgA antibodies are known as secretory antibodies, and they are present in various body secretions. IgD antibodies um, are present on the surface of the immature B lymphocytes, and very small amount is also present in the plasma. But the exact function of IgD antibodies is not known. This diagram shows us different types of other classes of antibodies. IgG antibodies, which are the most numerous antibodies, 75% of the immunoglobulins present in the plasma, and IgA are secretory antibodies present in the body secretions. IgE antibodies are involved in allergic reactions, and IgD antibodies are present in the cell membranes of immature B cells and in very small quantity are present in the plasma. And IgM, which are the largest antibodies, they are they are composed of 10 heavy and 10 light chains and have 10 binding sites for the antigen. Although they are not present in very large amount, but because they are very large antibodies, so they can produce very effective response against the antigens. And these IgM antibodies are formed during the primary response that we have just discussed. That primary response is the response produced when there is first exposure to the antigens. So during the primary response, the main type of antibodies which are formed are IgM antibodies, and IgG antibodies are the antibodies which are produced during secondary response, means when there is re-exposure to the antigen. Now we are going to talk about how the antibodies produce their action against antigens. So actions of the antibodies are of two types: direct actions of antibodies and actions of the antibodies produced by activation of complement system. So first we are going to talk about the direct actions. The direct actions of the antibodies include agglutination, precipitation, neutralization and lysis. So again, the four important direct actions of antibodies are there: agglutination, precipitation, neutralization, and lysis. We have already talked about the agglutination when we talked the topic of the mismatched blood transfusion, in which there is antigen antibody reaction causing clumping of the cells. So in the clumping can also occur with bacterial cells, or it can occur with the red cells in case when there is abio incompatibility. So antigen antibody reaction, it causes formation of clumps. When the antigen antibody reaction is it results in formation of large clumps, so that they become insoluble, so they are going to precipitate. So precipitation kya hai? It occurs when molecular complexes of soluble antigens and the antigen and antibody. The molecular complexes of soluble antigen and antibody become so large that these become insoluble, so then they are precipitated. So this diagram shows us the agglutination and precipitation. So antigen and the antibody reaction results in clumping, and when these clumps are going to become larger, they are going to become insoluble and they will become precipitated. Again the same thing, clumps of antigen antibodies resulting in agglutination, and when their clumps will become large, they will precipitate. In neutralization, the antibodies cover the toxic sites of the antigens, and in lysis, the potent antibodies are capable of directly attacking the membranes of the cellular agents and causing the rupture of the invading agent. This is known as lysis. Now this diagram shows us the neutralization. This is an invading bacterium and this is the toxin released from this bacteria. The antibody is going to bind with the toxin in such a way that it will be neutralized, and its toxicity is going to be reduced or inactivated. Then some of the antibodies also act as opsonins. They cause opsonization. Opsonization means the bacterium, it is coated with the antibodies. IgG antibodies may act as opsonins, and when this bacterium is coated with the antibodies, this is said to be opsonized. Now opsonization make it easier for the phagocytes to engulf it. It will be recognized by the phagocytes and it will be engulfed by the phagocytes. So this is another function of the antibodies, that they can act as opsonins. The antibodies also produce their action through activation of the complement system. Now, antigen antibody reaction causes the activation of C1 component of the complement system. It is a cascade of reaction. One component will cause activation of the other, and this activation of complement system, it again is going to produce different responses. The details of these responses we are going to study in the next session. So here we are going to sum up the functions of the antibodies. The antibodies can produce their actions as direct actions, or they can produce their actions through activation of the complement system. The direct actions of the antibodies include the agglutination and precipitation. There can be neutralization or lysis by potent antibodies of the invading agents. Antibodies can also act as opsonin and causing the opsonization of the invaders such as bacteria. And after opsonization, these bacteria are engulfed by the phagocytes, and the indirect actions of the antibodies are produced through activation of complement system. So that's all for today. Thank you so much for your listening.